Libyan affair, and they say that if there's a foreign soldier, then they will fight that foreign soldier with as much strength as they fought the Gaddafi troops.
We're hearing reports of the Libyan Air Force bombing ammunition depots, also reports that Gaddafi forces are dispersing protesters in Tripoli. What's the assessment there of the position of Gaddafi and how strong he remains?
Well, I think everybody knew that Gaddafi would try as much as possible a comeback. He has spoken about it, and certainly every indication that has been on the ground is that he's not going to let go in such an easy way. Now, there was an assessment over the past few days that he is more or less isolated in around Tripoli and in his hometown, and maybe also in Sabha, the town in the south of the country, sort of the transit point for the mercenaries. But people do understand very much that if he's going so much, or he's insisting so much on regaining Zawiya, for example, or Misrata, is because those are sort of the east and west gateway to Tripoli, and he needs to enlarge his circle around the capital. Now, you were talking earlier about aerial bombardment on munition caches. Well, I have to say that over the past few days we had very, very bad weather here, very heavy storms, and today is the first day with a clear sky. And today I have to say that we have been hearing a lot of sort of explosions around Benghazi too. We are told, and we can't confirm that those were also other aerial bombardment of known munition caches here. People, you know, to sum it all up, they're still fearing some sort of counter-offensive.
And just briefly, Hoda, Gaddafi's been speaking to foreign journalists. He says that he's fighting, quote, terrorists. And of course, he's blaming a lot of the protests on Al-Qaeda. Tell me about the people that you've been speaking to. Who are these people?
Well, really, they're average Libyans who just want a different life altogether. They just want to be able to speak their mind. They just want to be able to have a life like everybody else. One man told me, you know, we Libya, we mostly live along the Mediterranean coast. We look at Europe, but we live in a completely different way. We have no rights whatsoever. One woman told me, the reason I don't like Gaddafi and I would like to see him put on trial is that I want the women of this country to feel safe. And I said, what do you mean by safe? She said, well, I want women not to be afraid that their sons, fathers or husbands will be picked up in the middle of the night by all this security apparatus that has been controlling the country so tightly for so many years. And I have to say that people are also extremely offended by how they have been labeled, that they're drug addicts or hooligans or Al-Qaeda members. For them, it's just an indication that the top of this country is not understanding the people. There's a completely disconnect, and they don't understand that this is really about freedom and nothing else.
Hoda, thanks very much indeed for that. Hoda Abdelhamid in Benghazi there. Well, Abdel Fattah Yunus is the former head of the Libyan Special Forces. He renounced his post last week. Our correspondent Jackie Rowland managed to speak to him, and he told her that he wouldn't rule out asking for international help.
It is out of question. We will never receive any foreign troops or accept any foreign military base to be set up on the Libyan soil. However, when push comes to shove, as I was asked, will you be in need of an airstrike? I replied, it will be an alternative solution. If we found no solution is reached from Colonel Gaddafi's side or his aides to put an end to these massacres, all are firm and adamant that airstrikes must be launched, provided no jet fighters will land on Libyan territories. They must land in the Italian Androsa base or the aircraft carrier.
Let's get some other news now. Egypt's former President Hosni Mubarak hasn't been heard from since he stepped down last month. But now the spotlight's back on the former leader. Egypt's public prosecutors issued a travel ban on him and his family and put a freeze on their financial assets. Ayman Wahiuddin has more.
Forced out of office and now in the crosshairs of Egypt's prosecutor general. On Monday, former President Hosni Mubarak and his family were banned from traveling abroad and all of their financial assets and property in Egypt frozen pending further investigation. Mubarak and his family had reportedly accumulated billions of dollars in wealth during their 30 years in power in both domestic and foreign assets. The president's two sons, Ala and Gamal, were widely believed to have exploited their family ties for personal financial gains. Holding Mubarak and his former regime accountable is important if Egypt is to make a break from its past.
I think it's a very positive decision, one of the demands of the revolution, which pushes it forward and reassures the people to a great extent, especially these investigations in corruption.
Shortly after Mubarak left office, Egypt's foreign ministry requested foreign governments and financial institutions to freeze all foreign assets belonging to Mubarak's family. The travel ban and freeze is being imposed nearly 3 weeks after Mubarak stepped down, leaving some to question the prosecutor's intentions.
This is a positive step, but very late. It should have been taken when the prosecutor issued his decision to freeze Mubarak's assets abroad, and even before then, because it has given Mubarak time to smuggle his assets out of the country.
Mubarak is the most senior official of the previous regime, who is now under investigation for illegal activity. Similar travel bans and investigations have been launched into several top officials that served under Mubarak. And on Monday, indictments were filed against former ministers who are now set to go on trial in early March. Holding former regime officials accountable was one of the main demands of Egypt's revolutionary movement, saying the current leadership of the country must cut all ties with the past by sending a strong signal it will prosecute Mubarak's alleged wrongdoings. While many will see this as a positive step in the right direction, others will say it's too little too late, and that the delay in issuing such a freeze will merely have allowed the Mubarak family even more opportunity to hide any ill-gotten gains. Ayman Muhyiddin, AlJazeera, Cairo.
In Tunisia, 2 ministers have resigned from the caretaker government. It comes just a day after the Prime Minister bowed out following a wave of protests on Friday and Saturday, which left 5 people dead. Nazneen Mashiri has this report from the capital, Tunis.
There is a heavy security presence in the capital. For the first time, alongside the police and army, the National Guard. Working together, they say, to maintain order. In the past few days, several people have been killed in clashes here. The escalation of violence, something not seen since Ben Ali fled. The interim Prime Minister Mohamed Ghannouchi has gone, but the protesters remain outside his old office. They say their demonstrations are peaceful, all the trouble caused by armed militia who infiltrated their ranks. Their demands, the resignation of the entire government. How long do you intend to stay here?
For all my life, to save the future of my children and the children of mine. I will stay all my life.
This is the man who wants to bring calm. Badji Kaid Zebsi, an 84-year-old politician. He served under Tunisia's post-independence leader Habib Bourguiba. Mohamed Abu is a lawyer imprisoned during Ben Ali's reign. He says the current administration is facing an impossible task.
It seems people want to accept half solutions. The people got rid of the Ben Ali regime in this revolution, and they don't want to go back to the past. The problem is that people are not used to political matters, which requires compromise.
Tunisia is still a country in turmoil, unable to move on from its past. There's no mood of reconciliation here. It seems the revolution that toppled Ben Ali many weeks ago still isn't over. Nazneen Mashiri, AlJazeera, Tunis.
Still to come on the programme, WikiLeaks papers claim Muammar Gaddafi couldn't travel without her, but now his Ukrainian nurse has flown back home, and that story is still to come. And a former British security officer is given a life sentence for murder in Iraq. Full report after the break.
As the clouds roll in across the Mediterranean, you'll still find it easy to drift away.
Hello
Although, again, the flooding rains are still with us through many parts of South America. If we take a look at the satellite picture, it's a little jumpy, but you can make out this huge area of cloud here just in the southern parts of Brazil, and more wet weather all along this western coast here. Heavy downpours down into Lima. So we've got yet more wet weather to come then as we head through the next few days. There could be more in the way of localised flooding, yet more wet weather all the way from that western coast all the way down towards Rio. To the south of that, though, it's generally a lot drier and it won't be quite as hot as it has been either. So Buenos Aires this time getting to around 27 degrees. Now, if we head towards Cape Town here, it's actually going to be a bit hotter than it has been. Looks like our temperature will be right up at a sticky 34 degrees as we head through Tuesday. Elsewhere, it's also going to be warm, but not that hot. 28 there in Durban. The showers there still stretching from Madagascar all the way across through Mozambique and across towards Angola. Some heavy ones at that. A little bit further north, and the wettest weather here seems to be through parts of Pakistan and across into Afghanistan as well. Heavy downpours and a lot of snow there as you head into the northern parts of India as well. We've just got the tail end of that here in Doha. A fresher day, I think, for us on Tuesday. The wind's quite brisk and from the north.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
As geeks take on dictators, bloggers turn dissidents, and social networks root for social justice, governments are going cyber, spying on their citizens, erecting firewalls like iron curtains, and closing down websites. We ask, is cyber-generated change virtual or real? Empire at this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back here with Al Jazeera. Let's remind you of the top stories now. Reports are coming in that the Libyan Air Force has bombed an ammunition depot held by opposition forces in the city of AlJazeera. And the online edition of Kurna newspaper says several people are dead after forces loyal to Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi opened fire to disperse a protest in the capital. It comes as the international community meets in Geneva to discuss the ongoing crisis. Egypt's top prosecutor slapped a travel ban on former President Hosni Mubarak and his family pending further investigations. He's also ordered a freeze on their financial assets inside the country. And a heavy military presence is back on the streets of the Tunisian capital a day after the Prime Minister bowed out following a wave of protests. 2 ministers have resigned from the caretaker government. In Yemen, the opposition has rejected a call to join a unity government. That's despite reports that President Ali Abdullah Saleh is prepared to give the opposition some ministerial posts. Hashim Albra reports from Sana'a.
Rehearsing for the big day. Anti-government protesters outside Sana'a University. A huge rally is expected Tuesday. And for the first time, the opposition plans to join pro-democracy demonstrators in what they are calling a day of fury. This square just off the university campus has been the epicenter for demonstrations against the government. From there, organizers plan to march through the streets of the capital.
Despite pledges by President Ali Abdullah Saleh to enact democratic reforms, these young people are saying that they have made up their mind, that they have crossed the point of no return, and that they will continue their fight to bring down the government and the political elite in Yemen.
Please, 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 please leave our country before it's coming too late. Please leave our country, leave our country. We don't need anymore. If you love us, please leave us.
But Saleh isn't willing to leave. In this gathering with his ruling party, he made it clear that he won't let the street overthrow what he insists is a democratically elected government. In a thinly veiled warning aimed at stemming the rise of defections among loyalists, he told his party that if he should fall, they would be next.
Ben Ali is gone, but is it calm now in Tunisia? Is it over? They want to get rid of the leadership, the inner circle and all the chain of command. They got rid of the first tier leadership in Egypt. Now they want to get rid of the rest. I'm telling